There's a big trial where a much maligned woman is telling lies about a very powerful man. And I ain't even talking about Depp Heard. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton. Why don't you know about this yet? Hello there, you 5.6 million awakening wonders. Do you subscribe to this channel yet? Subscribe. This is a great channel. Subscribe to it. See the number go higher, feel better. Did you know that Hillary Clinton is currently subject of a trial? Well, at least her lawyer is on trial for feeding misinformation to the media. When we say misinformation and disinformation, do we just mean stuff that Trump done? Do we just mean stuff that's not beneficial to Joe Biden and the Democrat Party? As you know, I don't believe in any political parties that currently exist because I believe we are in the process of discovering something new. Something new is emerging that will benefit all of us together. Decentralization, real democracy, power for you, power for me in our own lives and our own communities. So I don't care about any of the stuff that's already going on. It's a lot of nonsense. What interests me is why isn't this trial being reported on? Why are we not hearing about it? This story is by Matt Taibbi, presumably writing on his own Substack, because that's the only place he's allowed to write. Last week, in the trial of former Clinton campaign lawyer Michael Sussmann, prosecutor Andrew DeFilippis asked ex-campaign manager Robby Mook, don't be childish about his name, about the decision to share with a reporter a bogus story about Donald Trump and Russia's Alpha Bank. Mook, hey you fucking Mook, answered it by giving up his one-time boss. I discussed it with Hillary, he said, describing his pitch to the candidate. Hey, you know, we have this and we want to share it with the reporter. She agreed to that. So I suppose the reason that's significant is in the Russiagate disinformation, because it has been widely understood to have been exactly that, disinformation, misinformation, constructed conjecture created by Democrat Party insiders in order to discredit Donald Trump. Apparently, it seems now that Hillary Clinton directly knew about it. You know how these stories go. First of all, they deny it altogether. Maybe they give you a bombastic outright lie. Trump's involved with Russia in some crazy way. Then it sort of peels back and they try not to report on it. Oh, he wasn't really involved in Russia. But the people that were saying it, they weren't directly affiliated with Hillary Clinton. And then eventually it comes out, Hillary Clinton probably thought of it. It's probably her bloody idea. In a country with a functioning media system, this would have been a huge story. Yeah, I suppose it would, wouldn't it? I mean, when you think about media bias, what you have to, I suppose, recognise is what are the stories that are reported on and what stories are not reported on. And if Trump was so powerful, how come he was criticised all the time? As you know, I'm not a Trump is the solution type person. I know a lot of you like Donald Trump, and that's cool if that's your thing. Hillary Clinton, I don't agree on hating on people in ways that are kind of crazy and ugly to the soul. But my particular critiques of Hillary Clinton is that she poses as a social justice person when in fact being a corporate career politician with a track record of voting for wars, having affiliations with arms companies. That Clinton Foundation is funded in all sorts of shady ways. I really don't think that Hillary Clinton is the answer. Obviously, this isn't Watergate. Hillary Clinton was never president. And Sussmann's trial doesn't equate to prosecutions of people like Chuck Colson or Gordon Liddy. But we've slowly been learning for years a massive fraud was perpetrated on the public with Russiagate, and Mook's testimony added a substantial piece of the picture, implicating one of the country's most prominent politicians in one of the more ambitious disinformation campaigns that we've seen. There are two reasons the Clinton story isn't a bigger one in the public consciousness. One is, admitting the enormity of what took place would require system-wide admissions by the FBI, the CIA, and virtually every major news media organisation in America. I think we sometimes balk at the enormity of what confronts us. I think sometimes the binary simplicity of Republicans or Democrats is appealing. That's why the emotive issues around gun law and abortion are so kind of volatile. They're easy to magnetize to. This is right, this is wrong. What's more difficult, and I believe even more important than either of those two issues to address, is the fact that there is something fundamentally and systemically wrong, and that you will never get any resolution or peace, even around the two issues I've cited, until those systemic problems are addressed. And those systemic issues, I think, can be embodied, personified in a figure like Hillary Clinton, who will use rhetoric from a very particular cultural space, but ultimately works for the kind of corporate interests that are not affected by transitions of power in the ordinary bipartisan, congressional ways that we've been trained to understand, or perhaps not understand at all. More importantly, there's no term for the offence Democrats committed in 2016, though it was similar to Watergate. Instead of a third-rate burglary and a bug, Democrats sent schlock research to the FBI, who in turn lied to the secret FISA court and obtained legal surveillance authority over former Trump aide Carter Page, which opened doors to searches of everyone connected to Page. Worse, the Clinton campaign created and fueled a successful years-long campaign of official harassment and media fraud. They innovated an extraordinary trick using government connections and press to generate real criminal and counterintelligence investigations of political enemies, mostly all based on what we now know to be self-generated nonsense. Where did this nonsense come from? We generated it ourselves. Now get out there and criminally investigate and harass that man. Now it's really odd, isn't it? Because look, my belief is that people that operate in the upper echelons of power of whatever hue are sort of part of the same system in ways that mean that it's not really worth getting all your flags out and getting excited about it. That's my personal opinion. Nothing real is going to happen there. What I object to is the kind of piety and certainty around Hillary Clinton and around the media, the way they sort of condemned Trump and how that went on and on and on, as if it was something significant. And I don't want this video to turn into, I told you I was right. But I've always felt that a figure like Trump, it's not really going to change America that much. I know some of you in the comments go, no, actually, but there was manufacturing jobs or whatever. And I think that a lot of you just identified with his rhetoric and his anger and the fact that he said things like drain the swamp and these wankers. I mean, I think you identified with that, and I did as well, is the truth. I agree with that stuff. But what I'm interested in is a bit more ambition, and for us to start recognizing that we are part of power too. It exists in our minds. We can change ourselves. We don't have to settle for Clinton or for any Republican candidate. We can stop cooperating in a fundamental way and say, we want better now. We want something different. This is nonsense. So let's to some degree stay with this story. Like that Hillary Clinton, who poses as a sort of, I'm a serious person, and Trump in his basket of deplorables, you can't trust none of that lot. Let's stay with that and recognize that the reason the Democrat Party is suffering is because it deserves to suffer, because it's got no stones, got no cojones, got no legitimate values, just a bunch of sort of like phatic ersatz badges and crap that it plasters all over its banal and empty political party in order to distract you from that fact. And that rhymed. The Clintons, and especially Hillary, have been baselessly accused of all sorts of things in the past, the murder of Vince Foster being just one example. The vast right-wing conspiracy was so successful that the Clintons ended up aligning with and helping fund its chief architect, David Brock, ahead of the 2016 cycle. Along with Perkins Coie and the research agency Fusion GPS, headed by former Wall Street Journal reporter Glenn Simpson, they engineered 3 long years of phony collusion headlines. No matter what papers like the Washington Post tried to argue this week, this was an enormous scandal. The world has mostly moved on since Russiagate was 30 or 40 current things ago, but the public prosecution of the collusion theory was a daily preoccupation of national media for years. A substantial portion of the population believed the accusations and expected the story would end with Donald Trump in jail, or at least indicted, scrolling for 1,000 straight days in desperate expectation of the promised justice. Trump was bounced from Twitter for incitement, but Twitter has a policy against misinformation as well. It includes a prohibition against misleading media that is likely to result in widespread confusion on public issues. I'm not a fan of throwing people off Twitter, but how can knowingly launching thousands of bogus news stories across a period of years, leading millions of people to believe lies and expect news that never arrived, not qualify as causing widespread confusion on public issues? Well, if you broadly agree with that dissemination, then it's not a problem, is it? So that means that Twitter, along with other social media companies, do have an agenda. It might not be clear and explicit to everyone what the agenda is, but you can start to discern it or divine it by recognizing which stories are promoted and which stories are extracted. Because if that Twitter law is true, then they should bloody well bounce Clinton off of Twitter. Say, look, you lied, you blagged all this Russia stuff, you knew about it, this trial suggests, so all you lot should be off. But they won't do that, will they? That won't happen because Twitter has alliances and has biases. Clinton and her campaign systematically lied throughout, both about collusion and about their involvement in disseminating popular theories about it. We know this for a fact. The Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign recently agreed to pay a $113,000 fine to the Federal Election Commission for concealing their role in producing the Steele research, a role, by the way, her campaign never admitted to, and which was only disclosed through dogged effort by the House Intelligence Committee nearly a year after the 2016 election. When you think about the atmosphere of distrust, of mistrust, of anxiety, apathy, and nihilism that we have towards politics, like, oh God, I can't trust them, I can't listen to this stuff, why should I bother voting, oh, it will always lead to the same types of people, it's precisely because of things like this. Things are never transparently, willingly admitted. Just imagine for a moment the kind of relationship you could have with government officials. It could be like, listen, you voted for us to do this stuff, so we're trying to do it, it's cost a bit more money than we thought it was going to, so we're going to think of raising some money in this way, or could we limit the project? It should be like an open, transparent thing. It's all full of obfuscation and distraction, and we've got a think tank. A think tank have come up with MAGA Ultra. We're going to just try and seed that into the public discourse, distract them, promote this idea. This is a popular cause. All right, bring up this aspect of gun control, but not this aspect. Even on this channel, people will say that we're affiliated with ideas that are right-wing. I don't care about either of those wings anymore. I think those contexts are becoming irrelevant, and we have to put them aside. Even if you traditionally relate to the Republican Party, or if you traditionally relate to the Democratic Party, now is a good time to recognise that no matter which one of those groups are in government, your life will not meaningfully alter. You might get a kind of a little spasm of victory that your team has won, like how you do at a sporting event. It doesn't really actually change your life, does it? Clinton's ex-lawyer, Sussmann, now stands accused of submitting the tunnel vision research about the silly Trump alpha tale to the FBI without revealing the admittedly obvious connection between that research and her campaign. Worse, both she and the current National Security Advisor, Sullivan, tweeted an assertion that this same story represented the most direct link yet between Trump and the Kremlin. How in love with the smell of her own farts can Hillary Clinton be that she can literally tweet a story that she knows to be untrue because she probably, possibly, allegedly participated in the construction of that fabricated lie on Twitter, which is the site that they like to say is the cause of all this dissemination? You must be sat at home wafting up a great gush of guff. Oh God, it's disgusting. Oh, better tweet out. Get them lies out there. This is not just misinformation, it's the most sophisticated kind of disinformation, an intentionally false story spread with an official imprimatur. For all the whining by the likes of Nina Yankovic of the now paused DHS Disinformation Governance Board, disinformation is a real danger in the internet age. The most dangerous variety, however, isn't from random users in porn-like chats, but the kind exposed by the Clinton campaign. Again and again, we see this theme, don't we? Like, oh, you know what the problem is? It's ordinary people saying F off or being racist. Not great, big, powerful, well-funded bodies with alliances in the corporate and governmental world, technocratic globalists that make decisions and have relationships that control reality. Let them get on with whatever they like. But you there, I don't like the looks of that emoji. There's just no defence against privately generated fake news stories commissioned by prominent politicians who in turn hand them to the corporate press, which then runs them with off-the-record nudges of encouragement from agencies like the FBI. Yeah, they said, oh, as far as we can tell, this is all probably true. Especially if reporters decide en masse to act like political aides instead of doing their jobs and questioning these stories. The public is really helpless to stop such deceptions. The fast receding early years of Russiagate prove the point, as does the laughably obvious collective decision by all the major networks to non-cover the Mook testimony, dragging Clinton into this mess. Why are they not reporting about it? Why are we watching admittedly fantastic television where Amber Heard and Johnny Depp tear themselves apart in public instead of stuff that's actually going to affect your lives? I'm not denigrating the importance of that trial or those humans. I'm saying that this is the architecture of your reality. Powerful, centrist, neoliberal politicians like Clinton generating stories allegedly that are untrue. The media corroborating and disseminating those tales. Meanwhile, while banning other information that is not convenient to their narrative, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. You start to see that we are participating in this reality by virtue of renting the space in our heads to them. We've got to foreclose that stuff and create our own spaces interiorly and externally. Our own transparent communication to replace their opaque methods of deception. Hillary Clinton was falsely accused many times earlier in her career. This time, she's guilty. It's not society's fault there's no legal name for the offence she and her campaign committed. It was serious and there should be serious consequences. But will there be serious consequences? Will Twitter change their policies? Will the Democrat Party become more authentic? Will we get offered the opportunity to vote for politicians that believe in power and democracy for ordinary people? What do you think's going to happen? Do you think this deception will just be put aside and forgotten? What do you think it means that it's not being reported on at all? That the mainstream media aren't going, hey, by the way, this thing's going on. We were wrong about that Russiagate. It should be front page. Sorry, we messed up. You can trust us again. We're going to put you first. We're here to report to you. Of course, people like Matt Taibbi, who's been a guest on our show Under the Skin, said it's because reporters are no longer drawn from ordinary working class communities but became a professional class that no longer have any affiliation with ordinary Americans and don't care anymore. But what do you think about this story? Do you recognise that, as Matt Taibbi said, perhaps in the past Hillary Clinton's been accused of things that are not true, or do you like it? Do you like accusing her of those kind of things? Did you like it when I was doing this and all of that? Was you into that stuff? Did you get off on it a little bit? Let me know what you think in the comments below, because your input is what makes this channel great. Our ongoing discourse and our potential ability to change reality through our own faith, through our own decisions, through our own actions, through where we put our attention, is the one thing we can start doing right now, as well as subscribing, because if you don't subscribe yet, you should subscribe now. Only 60% of you subscribe. I'd like every one of you to subscribe if that's possible. If you enjoyed this video, oh, look at every one of these two crazy little guys. And please sign up to my mailing list. We do online Zoom calls with just a few hundred people where we get to chat together, live events with people like Vandana Shiva and Wim Hof. This is all happening as part of the community. Sign up to that now. More important than any of this personal propaganda, though, is that you, please, stay free.